Welcome, everybody, to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. We're going to be talking about, the matchups that are potential for the Denver Broncos as the playoffs are going to get started. Less than 24 hours, less than probably 12 hours. I don't know. Right around the corner. Coaches potentially on the go. And, of course, Denver Broncos that were named to all pros. It's time to get this started. Let's get this started. Right about now. Welcome in, everybody, to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. My name is Keith Brugman. We're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We have an amazing sponsor named Morgan Trinkets. I'm a little under the weather. That's not my name. Again, I'm Keith Brugman. And this is my friend, my trusty co-host, the guy who came up with the agenda tonight, and it's a fantastic one, Mr. Trevor Salzman. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, excited to be here, Keith. It's been a little while, but I'm excited to be back and talk Broncos football. I mean, there's just so much going on in the NFL circle. The NFL truly is a sport that never dies. I mean, there's always something 365 days throughout the year. So I'm going to talk about this NFL coaching cycle. We also got playoff games going on currently and tonight with the Rams and Panthers finishing up. Rams squeaking out that one 34-31. Packers currently leading the Bears 21-6. So a lot to be excited about, and a lot to cover. But looking forward to get into it, and looking forward to our show tonight, my friend.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who we're going to match up against in the Super Bowl. So, yeah, got to keep track of the Rams or the Packers or the Bears, whatever it happens to be. We'll be keeping track of maybe our opponents that we'll be matching up against as well. Like I said, a little under the weather, so I appreciate everyone that's sticking with me. I told Trevor before we went live, I might be a little bit goofy. I tend to get a little bit goofy when I get a little under the weather. So appreciate everyone sticking with us. And, yeah, great matchups ahead for the Broncos. Great matchups on TV right now of anyone that's tuning in. We got coaches that are going to be, that are getting interviews, that are being interviewed, that have, it's like Sean Payton said, it's a good problem to have. Quite honestly, when you're so dang good that you have other teams wanting to steal your guys, I think it just speaks to, again, the culture that we've talked about all year long. And then all pros, man. All pros. We'll get to the all pros as well in this because, Denver Broncos did quite well, I think, in their selections, getting named the all pros. But when maybe there's a few snubs out there, we want to talk about that as well, Trevor. But, man, before we get started, like I said, we're brought to you by Rocky Mountain Sports Network. We have an amazing sponsor named Morgan Trinkets. We'll talk about them all later. But first and foremost, and I wish I had I'm thinking about this amazing graphic that I want to potentially get all worked up for us. But let's hit the matchups, man. Let's hit the matchups first and foremost. The Denver Broncos have four potential players, four potential teams they could go up against in the divisional rounds after we see the next couple of days plays out. Let's talk about that, man. I'll let you take the mic as I get to the comments and get my thoughts together.
Remind me the four teams, Keith, again.
Boy. Okay. So you got the Chargers, Bills, Texans, Steelers. Those are your four potential, divisional round after the bye playoff teams that we could go up against, man. Now, that being said, let's Chargers are playing the Patriots. Bills are playing
No, Chargers
no.
playing Pittsburgh, right?
Oh, yeah. Chargers, Pittsburgh,
And
Bills and
Buffalo and Jacksonville and Houston and New England.
okay, there you go.
Yeah. And then I
Thank
believe
you.
it's gonna. And I asked for the 4 teams. I'm not even sure why I did because, I believe the Broncos play the lowest seed. So if Houston beats New England, then replace Houston, be the number 1 seed. If Houston's eliminated, New England
No,
wins.
it's Texans, Steelers,
Mm-hmm.
Bills, Jaguars, Chargers, Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about the matchups because Texans would have to be the Steelers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. My fault. I'm looking at the wrong bracket.
Yeah. Texans, Steelers, Bills, Jaguars, Chargers, Patriots.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I got Patriots and Chargers game mixed up. Yeah. I mean, again, for me, the team that I don't want to play the most, I think, for me, is the Chargers. I mean, that offensive line just they've gotten banged up quite a bit, and I know it's a Harbaugh team. I get that, but man, I mean, I think there's something about facing your opponent in the AFC West and just being able to win a playoff game against the Chargers. I mean, it's been a long time since you've had to face the Chargers in the playoffs. I can't even think the last time they did. But for me, that's the most favorable matchup. And I mean, Houston, you can argue that, but that defense being so as good as they are, I mean, arguably one of the best defenses in the league alongside yours, that would be more than likely a defensive shootout in that game. Buffalo with Josh Allen. I mean, I don't want to face Josh Allen, and Jacksonville. We've already seen kind of what Jacksonville is doing. I'm not quite buying Jacksonville right now, to be honest, but yeah, I mean, I would say the 2 teams I would face, Keith, I'll put Jacksonville in there because they got to prove to me that they can still sustain have sustained success throughout the playoffs. It's been a while since they've been in the playoffs as well. So for me, it'd be Chargers, Jacksonville. Those are the 2 teams I would want to play around 1. I mean, for the Broncos, I mean, it just I don't want to face Josh Allen. New England, Drake May worries me, and Houston's defense worries me. Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh's. I mean, it's their defense too. I mean, their defense worries me as well. So, but I still something about that Chargers team that I would love to be able to eke out a win round 1 of the playoffs.
All right. So we kind of went through this with me and Jody as well. I was able to defer to our old notes, which was kind of nice here, but because believe me, us making a mistake blew up the chat. Jody came in and was like, Chargers. No, the Chargers play the Pats. Chargers are playing New England. Houston plays Pittsburgh. So yeah, it's funny how mistakes can get really people animated. We appreciate it very much. Texans, Steelers. I'm just going to break this down. If I had to choose an opponent, it's going to be the Steelers coming out of that one. I by no means want to see the Houston Texans. It might be, though, the team I want to see the least on this entire matchup potential that we have in front of us. Buffalo Bills and Jacksonville Jaguars. I went on record on the last podcast. I want the Buffalo Bills in this one. I don't like the Jacksonville Jaguars. I know they've only had 2 wins versus a plus 500 team. And that one of them happens to be the Denver Broncos, by the way. But I don't like the fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars, I just don't like that matchup. I don't like the feeling of it. I know that we maybe played vanilla, quote unquote. Don't like it. I'd rather have a revenge game from last year and take on the Buffalo Bills than to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars in those matchup. And then the Chargers and the Patriots, yeah, I'll take the Chargers. Even though the Patriots, I still think have a lot to prove. I don't think they've played the toughest schedule out there. And they may have I think the biggest struggle, especially being the number 2 seed within this AFC seeding of all the teams that I see in here, just based on the seeding, not based upon talent or matchups or anything else. I just, being the number 2 seed, they could be quite honestly the quickest exit too, being that high. So I'll take the Chargers, the Bills, or the Steelers. And if I had to pick any of those, yeah, I'll take the Steelers all day long. I
Mhm.
think that we can get after Aaron Rodgers. I think we can rattle Aaron Rodgers. I like the way that the defense matches up against their offense. Not necessarily that our offense against the defense, but I think that we could win out in a game like that and take home a victory. I think we have enough in the offensive tank, especially in the first round, maybe coming off of a bye and needing to shake off a little bit of rust. I'll take the Steelers to shake off the rust. That's kind of funny. I'll take the
Mhm.
Steelers to shake off the rust if I needed to at all versus the other potential opponents out there.
Well, and so this is exactly where I thought it was going to be. This is my fault for having the wrong bracket up. The Broncos would play the lowest seed in the next divisional round. So
Correct.
again, you better hope that if the Chargers do beat New England. If you want the Chargers, if you want the Bills, I mean, for me, and I know Jacksonville, they won't play Jacksonville. I get that. I'm just talking more about the future, not necessarily next round. But
Yeah.
I mean, out of the teams of Buffalo, the Chargers, or Houston, I'm still taking the Chargers out of that one. I mean, I don't believe in that defense as much. I know Jesse Minter's done a good job with that defense, but I still don't know that defense is going to be able to hold up, throughout the playoffs. So for me, it's still the Chargers. If they could somehow squeak a win out in New England, it's going to be tough. And I think it's kind of unlikely, if I'm being honest. But the Chargers would be the team that I want to see next round. And I think, again, just adds a little more spice to it being the AFC West. So my apologies for the playoff bracket mistakes.
No, I love it, man. Like I said, you blew up the chat, buddy. Maybe we'll get more viewers just because of the chat blowing up, and maybe we can get a few more likes and shares and subscribed. If you're out there, emoji costs you nothing. Appreciate it if you can give us a like or a thumbs up as you're coming in here. I get the Chargers. They're the offensive line is ranked 32nd in the league. Trevor,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're talking about the one of the best defenses in the league in the Denver Broncos. I think they ended up number 2 overall when it ended up being all said and done at the end of the regular season as far as ranking when it came to yards allowed. But this defense versus the Chargers offensive line is something that you could get excited about as well. I get that. I don't know. There's just something about that Steelers team that just does not scare me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Where at the same time, Justin Herbert is still out there being one of the best quarterbacks behind one of the worst offensive lines.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I'll roll the guy. I'll roll going up against the guy that's closer to my age than any other quarterback in the league, almost, in Aaron Rodgers, and the defense getting after him because I think that could spell some trouble. But hey, we digress. We digress. I think they're very, very close as far as that's concerned. Phil, I see your stars. We need to get to that as well. Steelers can't get by the Texans, in my opinion. I agree. That's probably not the best matchup for the Steelers. But if we're just talking potential matchups, um, any given Sunday, and we could be matching up against the Steelers, we could be matching up against the Bills, Chargers, Patriots, Jaguars, Texans, who knows? There's a bunch of potential out there as far as the way these games could fall out and the way they could play. So, yeah, I agree. As far as where I think this Steelers team has a chance versus all these matchups, I'm gonna put it pretty low in comparison. But that's also the matchup I'd like the best, man. And to that end, I think your Chargers have a lot better potential of possibly beating out the Patriots.
Who do you think is the likeliest Denver plays then? If you had to pick somebody, a team right now, and I mean, this is kind of predicting the matchups, I guess, tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
for tomorrow's games. But yeah, if you had to pick a team, who is the likeliest that Denver plays? I'm putting you on the spot, but it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it would be between the Bills and the Jaguars, and
Mm-hmm.
then the Chargers and the Patriots game, right? Which one do I feel is going to eke out, and can a lower seeded team end up beating out?
Yeah.
You're probably right. I'd probably put my my money on the Chargers beating out the Patriots if I had to, and then they would end up probably being the matchup because I feel less confident about the Jaguars beating the Chargers. And then we already talked about the Texans Steelers. I expect the Texans to probably win out that one as well. But the lowest seeded team at that point would be the Chargers. And then that's who the Denver Broncos would match up against. We'd see them again 3 times in the AFC this year, or 3 times in this season, not in the AFC, but 3 times in this season. I'm going to let you take the screen here for a second. I'm going to drop out for just a moment. Okay, bud?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for me, I have a sneaky feeling it's going to be Buffalo. I mean, if I had to pick a team that's likely, I think it's going to be Buffalo because I just don't believe in Jacksonville, really. I mean, I don't. I think Trevor Lawrence is having success. That's great. It's a great story, but I mean, my gosh, I mean, this is a team that doesn't have a lot of playoff experience. So I think the Patriots will end up beating the Chargers. I do believe in the Patriots in a lot of ways. I think they've built that team up the right way. Mike Vrabel finally has a quarterback that he can win with and win with long term. And Drake May, I'm a big Drake May fan. But I think Buffalo. I mean, I think Buffalo is the likely team in my opinion, just because of Josh Allen. There's so much pressure on Sean McDermott as well to, be able to have success in the playoffs. If the Buffalo Bills lose tomorrow, lose their first playoff game in the wild card, and they don't get any further, we could very well see Sean McDermott out the door. I wouldn't be surprised. I think there's a lot of pressure on him. There's certainly been a lot of rumblings around the league that that he might be on the hot seat if they don't have success in the playoffs because you have a quarterback that's in his prime, an elite quarterback in Josh Allen, and you haven't been able to do much with him even get to a Super Bowl yet. So even one time. So I actually think Buffalo is a likely team that the Broncos end up playing. I hope not, just because something scares me about playing Josh Allen. I think he's a heck of a quarterback, and he can do so many amazing things in the pocket and outside with his legs. But I think Buffalo has a lot of pressure on them to win, and I do think they will squeak out a win against Jacksonville. I think Buffalo is a likely team that Denver ends up playing.
Yeah, I want the revenge game. I'll be honest. I know it's maybe not the best matchup, but I think that's a game that a lot of these Broncos players could really get up for, and not that they won't get up for all of them, but I don't know. I'm okay with the Buffalo Bills matchup. I'm going to hit one more from Phil because I'm trying to find where he dropped stars, and that wasn't why I dropped off screen, but he brings up a great question, and I'm not sure on a couple of these. I'm not sure on one of these at least. Good evening, Keith, Rocket Man. Goofy is pretty normal for Keith, but he has a question. He says, do we bring Dobbins back? Do we bring JFM back? What are your thoughts around those two players? I'll defer to you first, Trevor, and then I'll pick up on the second end.
I'm going to guess Phil's talking about like free agency wise, because we heard a little bit of an update actually on J.K. Dobbins. Sounds like he's getting closer to return, according to Sean Payton, which is great news for the Broncos offense if they can get J.K. Dobbins back for this playoff run. But I mean, as far as free agency, JFM, I don't think so. I think he's going to ask for too much money. I think there's a reason why he hasn't been re-signed already. And I think, Malcolm Roach, DJ Jones, getting these big contracts, you can only really throw so much money at these guys. Yes, Denver can afford to pay JFM, but you got to remember the Savion Jones draft pick this past season. I think that had a lot to do with maybe we move off from John Franklin Myers in this next offseason because we can't pay everybody else. And I think JFM's a really solid player. Do I think he's irreplaceable? No, I don't think so. I think that you can absolutely replace him and maybe even find a cheaper option out there in free agency. And this is the greatest thing. There's going to be players out there on the free agent market that's going to want to come to Denver because they're seeing, hey, this is a team that's ascending and they're a Super Bowl contender. Players are going to want to come to Denver and maybe even for cheaper money. So I think JFM will get paid elsewhere. I don't think he's back if I had to guess right now. Dobbins, that's a tough one because you have to ask yourself, if you're Denver, what is RJ Harvey? I think if RJ Harvey can handle the backfield going into next year, maybe you bring J.K. Dobbins back. I don't think his market's going to be ridiculous, but he was certainly on track to have a career kind of season. I would guess right now, I think it's a 50-50 split with J.K. Dobbins. If Denver can find an upgrade at running back, I think they do. But if not, I wouldn't be surprised if they did bring back J.K. Dobbins. And with confidence, RJ Harvey is going to be able to carry or have the bulk of the carries going into year 2.
Funny thing is, I'm on the opposite side of this completely, my friend. So for me, and by the way, thanks JC for coming in. JC Weaver, good friend. Appreciate you coming in and being a part of the comments. Check out the Orange and Blue Network. He's over there. He does some fantastic podcasting, and they have amazing shows. I mean, Trevor, if you want to catch a show in Spanish, check out the Orange and Blue Network. Check that out, man. I mean, how awesome is that, man? A Denver Broncos podcast in Spanish. So, JC, appreciate you coming in here. You always support us whenever you possibly can. I'm on the other side, man. How many 3-contract running backs are out there? How many 3-contract running backs are out there that produce? How many 3-contract running backs are out there that produce that have been injury prone? At some point, I think you need to turn the page. As good as J.K. Dobbins has been, even the Chargers realized they had to turn the page on J.K. Dobbins, and that's tough to say. I think you utilize him as much as you possibly can. But as sad as I was to see C.J. Anderson go, at some point you have to turn the page. And there's not that much left in the tank at some point. And I think you got to come to a realization with J.K. Dobbins at some point. On the other side, John Franklin Myers is a guy that I would love to try to make space for. I look at a guy even like DJ Jones that a lot of times we have questions about, and I know he's been playing pretty dang good right now, but to carry a John Franklin Myers in order to make sure you kind of have a bridge, probably at a reduced rate in comparison, to have that guy in the rotation, if you can talk to other players like we kind of saw last year and say, hey, can you come in here, maybe push a little money down the road, maybe take a little bit more in a bonus and make a little room for John Franklin Myers? Could you do that? I think there'd be guys lined up around the block on this team that would be willing to get John Franklin Myers back in the rotation, especially the deeper we go in this playoff run, which I expect us to go pretty deep, Mr. Salzman. That's another question to be answered at a later date. That being said, I'm on the other side of the page just because of those two reasons, man. I think that John Franklin Myers is a bridge. I think he's a great piece in this defense and a great rotational piece. I see him own guys at times. And quite honestly, I don't know how much more Dobbins has in the tank.
That's fair.
That's fair, he says.
I mean, that's. I just say this because, I mean, who are you gonna? I mean, I guess free agencies out there. I mean, you're gonna have more of a market again this year with Breece Hall and guys like that. But it's like those guys are gonna require quite a bit of money. Are you gonna go out there and pay a running back to overplay RJ Harvey? I mean, I guess again, this whole thing depends upon what does Denver think of RJ Harvey. If RJ Harvey can carry the load next year, bringing back J.K. Dobbins, I think, which fit really well in your offense as, to back up maybe R.J. Harvey, because he's not going to require a lot of money. I don't think would be a bad thing if you don't believe in R.J. Harvey, though, and he can't be the guy that to carry, the bulk of the carries, then I think you need to absolutely address running back. And then part of that is maybe actually paying a running back for the first time in a long time, because this draft, it's not it at running back. I mean, it's a lot. There's not as much depth as there was last year in the draft this coming up season. So, I mean, it all depends, but that's the only reason why I say J.K. Dobbins on a smaller deal, kind of prove it, kind of deal. Once again, the injury history is there. You need that this year with him, but it's more of like, elevating R.J. Harvey and giving him a more elevated role, not to try to block him or anything.
I got to get to a comment, a posse member that I can't remember the last time I actually read off the name. So I'm going to jump in here with Mr. Glenn Ashley. And Glenn, thank you so much for joining the show. He says, free agency wise, I would give Dobbins one more year and draft. And I don't know, Joan Miller.
Jam Miller.
regardless, this was going to be my point. I'm going to skip over that for a second. JFM can go and we can replace him in the draft.
Yep.
JFM's numbers came from Allen and Cooper and Benito more than his individual talent, in his opinion. Glenn, I'm going to go all the way back to the very beginning of this podcast where Mr. Rocketman Salzman, right over here, said that this sport that we cover, the NFL, is 365 days, and this proves my point, my friend. Already coming up with replacements in the draft. The draft is closer than we anticipate, Trevor. It's right around the corner. I was just thinking about it today as I heard one of our other podcasts do a mock draft, Trevor. And I don't know if it's too early for a mock draft. It's too early for me. I can tell you that. I know I would struggle, but it's right around the corner. And Glenn, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it because it's right around the corner. You don't know what the replacements are going to be for multiple positions on this roster. It has potential. You know what I mean? We'll see. But for me, I understand, man. We'll start talking about all pros here in just a second. But go
If
ahead,
I can
Trevor.
add something, Keith, there's
Please.
something else to keep in mind here is these guys' ages. I mean, because I know, 29 is not old in real years. I mean, like outside of football, I get that, but it's not old at all. But you have DJ Jones that's 30 years old, Zach Allen's 28, John Franklin Myers is 29. I mean, you're starting to creep up there from an age standpoint. I think financially and age standpoint, you'd like to get a little bit younger, and I agree with right there with Glenn. If you can add into the draft on your defensive line up front, I was hoping they would do it last year. I think adding to that this season, it's not a bad idea whatsoever. Get a little bit younger there, get a little bit cheaper there, and maybe spend that money elsewhere. I know I'm a big fan of investing up front on your offensive line, defensive line. I think it's critical alongside having a quarterback, a franchise caliber quarterback you can get behind, and along with a good head coach. But I think you do need to look at the draft at some point in time and be like, hey, maybe we'll look at the draft. I know we just did with Savion Jones last year. You traded up for him, I believe third round pick. You ended up moving up for him. So that's a guy that you are just definitely in your plans to play at some point in time. But you do have to look at getting younger at some point in time, and you can't pay everybody. As much as JFM has been a good player for this Broncos team, I think elsewhere he'll probably get paid more. And elsewhere, I think, another team may try to outbid Denver, and maybe JFM wants a bigger role with another team too. We'll see what ends up happening. Little off-season talk, a little early, I should say, before we're even ready.
It's like we're ready for the playoffs, but we're already getting into off-season. We're already talking about the draft. It's amazing, man. It's like it's such a multifaceted sport that you need to be thinking about. That's why these general managers and the like that control this team are pretty amazing, quite honestly. I'm going to hit Phil's question or comment. I apologize, and anybody that's joining late, a little under the weather, so I apologize for my goofiness this evening. But he says I would take the Bills. He likes a revenge game, man. He would right now. He says they still have. I'm sorry. They still right now all they have is Josh Allen, in his opinion. I would love to beat them, but I still think we can beat Herbert as well with the Chargers. What are your thoughts around? I guess one more matchup around that. If it had to be, Josh Allen or Justin Herbert, which matchup would you choose?
Justin Herbert. I mean, Josh Allen's top 3 quarterback in the NFL, top 2, and you can argue that very much so. Elite quarterback. I mean, he can do a lot of different things. Keep in mind, James Cook has also cooked the Broncos in the past. That's a running back that has had a fantastic season. He's definitely a guy that has hurt Denver in the past. We saw what happened last year in the playoffs. I know this is a different, kind of a different season. I understand that, but still, mainly James Cook is what I'm worried about. RJ Harvey, or excuse me, RJ Hampton, the Chargers running back, Marion Hampton, excuse me, hasn't really played much this season. So, I mean, there's not a lot of film on him quite yet, but I would be more worried about James Cook and Josh Allen than I am Justin Herbert.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I still like the revenge game. Another horseman coming in. He wants to know if you could bring back one, Powers or JFM. It would be
JFM, because I think what the heck is his name? Paul Chesky, Alex Pacheski. Sorry, I had a blank moment for a minute. A blonde moment for a minute, I should say. But I think Alex Pacheski can slot into that guard position. He's proven that. I think throughout the season, as Ben Powers has been out, I would say JFM.
Very good. Pearl, I agree. You can probably bring Dobbins back. She says you could bring Dobbins back. I have no doubt you could bring Dobbins back. I don't think he's going to be an expensive guy, especially if you just want to bring him back on a short-term deal. He's coming off an injury, but I similar to what you were talking about with JFM. At some point, you need to like turn the page. You need to get a little bit younger. I know that we've already started that with RJ Harvey, but it seems like running back is one of those places that you can be better and you can improve yourself pretty easily through younger talent. So, boy, I got to get back to my notes here real quick. Coaches, we better get to that, man. We're already a half an hour in, and I guess it reminds me I should talk about our sponsor, Morgan Trinkets. Morgan Trinkets has been our sponsor for quite some time, and even longer. They've been doing Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, and Estate Gold at wholesale prices because they've been doing it for over 35 years. Once a nationwide company, and now they're just in your backyard, northern Colorado, southern Wyoming. If you see a show at your fairgrounds, if you see a gem show, a dog show, horse show, my guess is Morgan Trinkets is right around the corner. If you can't get out to one of those shows, please check in at Etsy by typing in Morgan Trinkets Co. That's Morgan Trinkets Co. over on Etsy, or our good friend Pearl Heater. You can check out eBay and type in Pearl Heat and see everything that Morgan Trinkets has to offer. Again, once a nationwide company, been doing it for over 35 years. They're the best in Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices. If that is in your interest, check them out. We appreciate them. They've been fantastic sponsors. You'll appreciate everything they have to offer. Again, Morgan Trinkets Co. Check them out today. Coaches, man. These coaches of the Denver Broncos have gotten some serious interest. Let's just start off with Vance Joseph, man, because he's the guy who's gotten probably the biggest interest. Been getting interviews left, right, and otherwise. I want to start off here, man. Are you worried? Are you concerned at all? And this comes up every single cycle, whenever this comes around, that this is a distraction when it comes to the Denver Broncos, their planning and what they're doing, whether it be Vance Joseph or the numerous other names that we're going to go through as far as this coaching cycle is concerned. Is this a distraction for the team?
I don't think for the players it is. I think for the head coaches, head coaches, assistant coaches that are getting these head coaching interviews. I mean, it's got to be on your mind, right? I mean, yours, take us back to just us humans for a minute, like outside of football. You're always thinking about your future, right? I mean, yeah, you want to stay in the present and you want to stay locked into what you're doing now, but that's still on your mind. So I think we'd be lying. I think any assistant coach would be lying if they didn't have that on their mind going forward, especially you have numerous amount of interviews with a numerous amount of teams like Vance Joseph does, and some of these other coaches do. So I think it's on their mind. I think assistant coaches, though, you've got to be a professional and you got to block that out until the season's over. This is what kind of worries me, or not worries me, but it concerns me about the NFL. And something I wish they'd change is kind of push back the calendar a little bit with some of this stuff. Like I get, teams interviewing, wanting to interview GMs and head coaches and stuff like that. But It gets a little weird when it comes to the playoffs, and I just think that should be pushed back until after the Super Bowl is played, and then you should be able to go through the whole hiring process of your GMs and your assistant coaches. If the team's already out, I understand, but playoff teams should not be allowed, or they should just push it all back just in general. I think I'm a big component, and I agree with Sean Payton on this one. Like, I do think that pushing back the NFL calendar a little bit when it comes to head coaching cycle and GM cycle, I think should be on the dock, and I think would help with some of these assistant coaches, because it's going to be on their mind. No doubt about it. But it's on them as assistant coaches to be professional and not let it get in their way of winning and get in their way of possibly winning a Super Bowl. So yeah, I think it's definitely on their minds. But again, going forward, I would like to see the NFL be able to at least entertain maybe pushing that back until after the Super Bowl.
Ain't that? I agree, man. I was gonna say, ain't that the truth, man? Because I feel like it's just been a stumbling block for teams and coaches, and just really the best potential football we could see throughout the playoffs. Why compromise that, in my opinion? You know what I mean? It just seems like it's a dumb thing to do. Push it back. Give these coaches, give these teams better opportunity to really sit down, evaluate each other, and get the best potential matchup fit, not having to try to get in front of one team or the other. You see teams like Miami who've, maybe, depending upon your opinion, have made maybe a rash decision to, get rid of their coach because of the potential candidates that are out there. You would hate for teams to be vying for a Denver Bronco coach that is also trying to plan for the playoffs, and that's the guy that they're now let their coach go for. It just seems like we should change that timeline. I completely agree. Vance Joseph has gotten a lot of opportunities. I'll just ask you straight out, Trevor, is he gone?
I believe so. I think he's out the door. Whether that's a head coach or that's a DC elsewhere, I do think Vance Joseph is probably out the door, and that's why I've said it multiple times this season. Enjoy him while you can, because I don't believe Vance Joseph is returning.
Okay, very good. I would agree. I think honestly, being what he's done with the Denver Broncos over the last couple of years, you can't look at what he's put on paper, what his resume looks like, and then also that he has, so be it. He wasn't the best record that he came out with being a head coach, but he has that experience. And quite honestly, let's all be real with ourselves. He was handcuffed while he was a head coach for the Denver Broncos in his turnaround. Vance Joseph is probably the easiest candidate that we could line up here and say he could possibly be out the door. And I'd probably agree. I think he gets that opportunity. Davis Webb. What are your thoughts around Davis Webb? He's getting some looks as well out there, and has been sitting behind Sean Payton, has been sitting behind Nathaniel Hackett, quite honestly. Has taken his licks and has shown his potential. Is there enough potential for him to be walking out the door? Does a team take a swing on a guy like Davis Webb, who hasn't really been an offensive coordinator, especially when you have Sean Payton as your head coach, and even for that matter, Nathaniel Hackett?
Yeah. I will say this last note on Vance Joseph and Jim Leonard, who we're going to be talking about here in a little bit too.
Mm.
The Broncos better find a way to keep one of those guys, because I
Mm.
don't think that you can afford to just let both of them just walk out the door. So Sean Payton, if Vance Joseph doesn't get a head coaching job, he should be back with the team as their DC. But if he leaves, you better make sure you retain Jim Leonard, and Jim Leonard's getting interest around the league as well as being a DC for another team. But to answer your question,
I'm gonna hold you for a second, just because I
Yeah.
want to get to Phil's comment, because it's still Vance Joseph. Vance Joseph to Florida, Arizona. I think Harbaugh is going to the Giants, in his opinion. If you had to choose between those two, do you think he goes down to Miami? Do you think which is kind of a coming home for him, or do you think he goes back to Arizona, which is coming home for Vance Joseph as well, as he kind of took his tour around the league after he left the Denver Broncos? If you had to choose between those two, which would it be? And do you think those are Do you think those are his best potential landing spots?
If I had to pick a team, I think it's Arizona. And I am not a fan of that. If I'm Vance Joseph, I think his best landing spot would be Baltimore. Then the Giants got to be on that, on that tree as well. But those are probably the two teams that I would say. Tennessee would be interesting with Cam Ward, because I think VJ can get a lot of that out of that defense, and he's really going to prioritize players that fit his scheme, just like he did here in Denver, and players that fit his defense. And then again, if he takes Davis Webb with him, I think that's got to be intriguing for Davis Webb as well, as you get a chance to possibly develop Cam Ward, who was the number one overall pick just a year ago. So I actually think there's other jobs out there that definitely would be more intriguing. Arizona is one of those jobs that's not. That's why I say, like, I think with Harbaugh and Stefanski and some of these other guys, Mike McDaniel being out there, I'm not sure VJ is going to get the perfect job offered to him. Arizona right now is in a difficult spot with Kyler Murray's contract. I don't think he's back there next season. So if you're VJ, maybe get a chance to pick your quarterback. But I mean, again, there's not a lot to work with that roster. That roster needs a lot of help as well. And so I do think Arizona, out of Arizona or Miami, I think Arizona is more likely. But there's other jobs that are better for him. I would say Ravens, Titans, and Giants for sure.
Pearl's coming in and say, will Leonard stay? And how about Webb? You talked about it, man. We need to retain one of them. Vance Joseph, Jim Leonard. Could you see the idea of Vance Joseph staying, Jim Leonard going? Do you see the potential of both them leaving? And what about Davis Webb? Do you think he could elevate himself all the way from kind of that backup OC to Sean Payton all the way to being an OC or potentially head coach within this league? Does somebody take a swing that big? Because it's not like it hasn't been done before. Let's face it. We're talking about John Harbaugh, who was a special teams guy who ended up being a head coach and did it for 18 years, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, I mean, one's got to be back. I can't. I mean, unless Sean Payton just doesn't think it that high of Jim Leonard, I can't imagine a way where at least one of Jim Leonard or Vance Joseph's not back. I think it's 50-50. I mean, if VJ is not getting head coaching job, I don't see why he's not back in Denver. I mean, you're going to let Vance Joseph go to another team to be their DC. I think that's crazy to me. When you've seen what he can do with this defense time and time again, year after year, and you would just let him go like that to possibly take a big risk with Jim Leonard. I mean, what if things with Jim Leonard don't work out? Then no, we're playing the what if game. I get that, but Jim Leonard's not an experienced play caller as well in the NFL, so that's a big risk. Moving off of VJ, who is an experienced play caller on the defense side of the ball, to go from an experience to inexperience with Jim Leonard. So I do think one of them's back either way. I can't imagine Sean Payton letting both of them go. And then as far as Davis Webb, I think he's out the door too, Keith. I mean, I think you could argue he's the most likeliest out the door, in my opinion. I think with the Raiders, Baltimore, and the Giants having interviewed him for their head coaching job. Obviously, you're also interviewing Davis Webb for your OC job as well. If you hire a different head coach, you're probably going to look at Davis Webb and be like, really great offensive mind. Maybe he could be a possible OC for us. So you got to keep that in mind with his head coaching cycle. Is teams are interviewing guys for their head coaching job, but I think they're also interviewing them maybe as like a potential OC or DC if they hire somebody else. So Davis Webb, I do think he's going to be gone. He'll be elsewhere as either an OC somewhere. There could be a team that could take a chance on him being a head coach. I know the Raiders, he just had his interview with the Raiders. From what I heard from that interview, they were really intrigued with what they heard from him as far as a head coach wise. So very intriguing name, Davis Webb. He's been an intriguing name for a couple of years now. I do think he's the likeliest to leave Denver, though, and get a job elsewhere.
Dom wants VJ to stay and be that Wade Phillips or Vic Fangio type. That's just a better coordinator than they are maybe a head coach, and maybe realize that before they ever leave out the door for that opportunity once again. He also wants to know if VJ doesn't leave, do they lose Leonard to Dallas? Um, what are your thoughts around that? Because obviously Dallas looking for a defensive coordinator. Do they snag a Leonard if VJ ends up staying?
They're certainly interested in Jim Leonard, and they've also interviewed him. That was one of the teams that has interviewed Jim Leonard so far. I do think they are very interested in Jim Leonard and what he offers can offer to them. They're in their defense, so that's the thing. If you're Denver, you're going to have to make Jim Leonard a better offer if you want him to stay. I think, but it will say a lot what they think of Jim Leonard if VJ is out the door and they don't bring back Jim Leonard. I think that says quite a bit of what they think of Jim Leonard because Sean Payton has that power to bring these guys back. I mean, to bring a Jim Leonard back, VJ, unless he's your head coach, you're obviously you're not going to be able to offer him a promotion to stay. He wants to be a head coach, and that's perfectly fine. Davis Webb, offensive play calling duties. He's going to have a better opportunity elsewhere. You can't match that because you have Sean Payton as your head coach already calling offensive plays. With Jim Leonard, though, if VJ's out the door, that clears the path for Jim Leonard to be that DC and that guy to call plays. So I think, again, I think if you really think highly of Jim Leonard, you have to match anything Dallas offers him and bring him back if VJ's gone.
Yeah, I agree. I understand where you're coming from, man. I want to hit Dom's comment here because it does make me think about maybe looking at the cycle and as far as coaching hires are concerned. He says Davis needs to stay with Bo and wait until he wins MVP or Super Bowl and then leave. Which makes me wonder, how late would a team like I'm gonna take Baltimore for instance, right? Would they wait until Super Bowl's over to make sure they make the best decision? I mean, if you're interested, if you're looking at Vance Joseph, let's say, and you know that decision's not going to be necessarily made until after the Super Bowl, are you willing to wait for a guy like that? And I know that maybe Davis Webb is a little bit further away from Vance Joseph in the ranking as far as head coaching decisions or candidates are concerned, but maybe they do think about Davis Webb that high or whoever is on this potential coaching tree. What are your thoughts around that, man? How late do you wait? And is can you wait, in this day and age, for that to all play out?
I mean, you think you can definitely wait. You just better make sure you can seal the deal. Or maybe a handshake agreement behind the scenes and you make it official after the Super Bowl. Maybe that's a thing that you do as well. But yeah, I mean, if it depends also who you hire as your head coach. If you're hiring Davis Webb as your head coach, I think you can wait. Again, maybe there's that handshake agreement after the Super Bowl's over with and you make it official to everybody and you leak it out. But there's always that in the NFL, the handshake agreements and it becomes official at a later date and that gets leaked. Yeah, I mean, I think you can wait. I mean, if you're hiring him as your OC, depends on who you're hiring as a head coach. Is it going to be a defensive mind? Jesse Minter's name's been thrown out there quite a bit. The Chargers DC as a name to watch in Baltimore as well. If they've potentially hired Davis Webb, I don't think that, they would hesitate to hire him as soon as they possibly could. I mean, especially if that's your number one guy. But I do think you can wait to find your guy. You want to find the right guy, most importantly. You don't want to rush the process, and you don't want to the last thing you want to do is hire the wrong guy because that'll set your organization back. Whether you're hiring a head coach, an OC, a DC, a GM, it doesn't matter. You got to hire the right guy, and that may happen in due time if you're hiring, that guy or person in the playoffs.
All right, man. Well, a lot of coaching potential losses for the Denver Broncos. I will say that the culture that we have, the minds that we have around, whether it be George Payton, Sean Payton, this Walter Penner group, you forge on, and I feel fairly good about that. I don't want to say opportunity, but that challenge, I guess, is the best way to say it, if it does present itself, and replacing some of these coaches that may walk out the door. Probably better than I have ever felt before. But let's hit this, man. This will have to be rapid fire. We got less than 10 minutes left in this show. All pros, man. All pros named, and Denver Broncos got their fair share. Zach Allen, Quinn Miners, Garrett Bowles, and Devon Key, all named first ballot All Pro, or first team All Pro. I'm not first ballot. We're not talking about the Hall of Fame. First team All Pro. Follow that up. You also had second team in Patrick Surtain and Talanoa Hufanga. How do you feel about that list, man? How are you feeling about the first team, first and foremost, those players named? And is there anybody that you would have elevated or put on that first team All-Pro list?
I mean, huge shout out to Devon Key. I mean, making that first team All Pro as basically a special teamer. I mean, he's been fantastic for this team. My gosh, I mean, talk about a guy that just kind of came out of the water, and a guy the Broncos have believed in for a couple seasons now, and it's paying off. Waiting on players pays off eventually, especially if you believe in them 100%, and you're willing to develop them. But yeah, I mean, I agree with it. I mean, Quinn Miners, Garrett Bowles, Zach Allen, Devon Key, I agree with all of them. I would say with Zach Allen, I mean, again, there can't be much of an emphasis on how important Zach Allen is to this Broncos team. Led this team in with 50 pressures on the season. The sacks are not going to be double digit. They're not going to be out there in the water. But 6 batted down passes. I mean, that led the Broncos. He does so many different little things that opens up room for everybody else, like guys like Nick Benito to get their sacks, to Jonathan Cooper to be able to get to the quarterback. We're talking about John Franklin Myers couple, a little bit ago. I mean, he really does open up the door for all these other guys to get involved and really show what they got. So Zach Allen, for me, I mean, Broncos locking him up was one of the best things they did. He's been fantastic. I will say Patrick Surtain probably would have been a first team All Pro if he didn't miss amount of games he missed this past season. If he would have played a full season, I think Patrick Surtain would have been a first team All Pro as well. And then shout out to Hufanga, his first season as a Bronco, making it as a second team All Pro as well. So I have no problem with the All Pros. I will say Nick Benito, I'm just going to say right now, got snubbed, but it's all right. Life goes on. There's bigger goals in mind, obviously, for these players. This is just recognition, but still very impressive season from Nick Benito. Like to have seen him make it on this list one way or another, though.
Yeah, I agree with Glenn. Nick Benito must be a goalpost. How he wasn't named is criminal. How he wasn't named as criminal is I agree with, man. I don't know how Nick Benito is not named at least second team All Pro.
I will say, Keith. Sorry,
yes,
go
sir.
ahead. No, I was
No,
just gonna
go ahead, man.
I was just gonna make a quick point on that. He was 1 point shy of making a second team All Pro selection.
I don't care, man. 1 point is 1 point that should have swung his direction.
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that, man. I just don't see as many disruptive players as Nick Benito out there doing what he does at his position that should have been put in front of him. And I'll look at the whole list, but Bronco fan, first and foremost, being the second best defense in all the league all this year, being that guy that really was the spark plug when it came to sacks and pressures around that edge position. I can't leave Nick Benito without an All-Pro on this list. There's one other guy I wouldn't have left off this list, and I'll get to him in a second, but I agree with you. First and foremost, Zach Allen. Zach Allen, meeting him at training camp, I said it before, I'll say it again. He's that guy that just embodies football. He's that guy that just I don't know, man. He's a football player through and through. He's going to go out there and he's going to put 100% on the field every single time, and you just know it by looking in his eyes. You know what I mean? He is all out all the time, and just love the energy that it brought across when I got to meet him. Garrett Bowles, much deserved. For a guy that took a lot of heat that came into this when he first came into this league, give Garrett Bowles his flowers, give him his praise, give him his first team All Pro. Absolutely. Um, Devon Key, love that he got his recognition as a special teamer. It's the one guy that I'm a little bit worried about that may not be around after this season, because I think he's more than what he just puts on the field as a special teamer as well. The one that I was a little bit iffy about, at least as far as first team, was Quinn Miners. I don't think he's had the same season that he's had in years past. I think he's fantastic. I think he's still a staple on this line. I'm not looking to get rid of him. But as far as a guy that maybe eked onto the first team that maybe I'm a little bit iffy about, that's the only guy that I could say congratulations to him. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. And by all means, maybe I'm in the wrong. But if there was any guy on this entire list, it's the one guy that I would question, if any. Maybe a second team, but that's as far as low as low as I go. I think Surtain, quite honestly, with the injuries, and Trevor, I hate to say it, but and I know it's not the type of league that we live in this today, but it's not like Surtain's leading the league in interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like and I understand the shutdown corner that Surtain happens to be, and it puts a lot of pressure on Riley Moss and the whole nine. And, being the two across from Patrick Surtain is tough. But I don't know. I guess it's kind of nice to be so feared that no one ever throws at you, and then you get all pros. You know what I mean? It feels like I would like a little bit more. I'm perfectly fine with Surtain sitting here at the second team All Pro. And as far as Hufanga is concerned, yeah, 100% deserved. I think what he's brought to the Broncos alone, attitude alone, is almost deserving of an All Pro nod, let alone what he's been actually able to do on the field. Hufanga has been a piece that I value so much for this defense. I don't think he gets enough credit for the spark plug that he happens to be. Even though he hasn't showed up in recent weeks, we'll see what he does in the playoffs as well, man.
Yeah, and for anybody that wondering, also the All Pros and the Pro Bowlers are different. The selections, the Broncos had 6 Pro Bowlers named earlier, I believe in December, mid-December, early December, something like that.
Yeah.
They had named, and Nick Bonito was part of that, along with Bowles, Miners, Allen, and a lot of those other guys. So, I mean, just wanted to point that out there first and foremost. It's different, the All Pros, first team All Pros and second team All Pros and whatnot. Keith, I mean, with Surtain, and I think this is the case with Zach Allen too. A lot of what they do is, I think it sometimes gets underappreciated because of just like they don't put up the big numbers, and I get that. But I mean, it's just almost like they're so great and elite at what they do that it doesn't get recognized because of the stats. Like in the film, you see it, the coverage with Surtain. I think it's huge being able to take half the field away. It's ask the Colts if they would have made that Sauce Gardner trade again. The absolute would have, and there's a reason for it because it's hard to find guys like PS2 around. That's why that draft pick was one of the best in Broncos history, and is going to go down as one of the best draft picks in Broncos history because how great PS2 is. But if he would have played a full season, I think he would have been first team All Pro. But just what he's able to do in coverage, take half the field away, let alone, is very, very special. Same thing with Zach Allen, being able to get draw double teams and open up other guys to be able to put up big stats, I think is absolutely huge. And so what these players have been able to do, for other guys around them, make other players around them better, I think is huge and is definitely deserved to be recognized.
Yeah. I'd love that you brought up that point that All Pro and Pro Bowl are two different things, and the All Pro is what you really want.
Mhm.
Honestly, when it comes to a lot of times when it comes to contracts, if you ever look at those bonuses, yeah, it's one thing to be a Pro Bowler. You typically don't get any money for being a Pro Bowler, but if you get that All Pro nod, there can be some dollars tacked on to that contract for you because that's the recognition that you really want. Denver Broncos got quite a bit of recognition. I feel pretty good about it. I told you there was one more that I think they should get the nod, and a lot of the posse members that have come in. And by the way, posse, you guys have been amazing. I haven't been able to keep up. I'm a little under the weather. You guys have been amazing. I appreciate you coming in with all your comments, and hopefully you've enjoyed the conversation in the background. We need to probably get a producer because with all of you coming in here, I can't keep up with it. I can't keep up with the stars, and under the weather doesn't help. But that being said, the one other Pro Bowl possibility I saw on this roster that didn't get a little bit of recognition for me, Trevor, maybe Will Lutz.
Mm,
Will
yeah.
Lutz, kicker for the Denver Broncos, has been, well, what special teamer of the month, AFC special teamer player of the month or week, or I mean, he's just been so consistent for this Denver Broncos team. There's three phases to the game, and as far as special teams is concerned, I know that Devon Key got his accolades out there, but I think that Will Lutz could have been a potential nod as well. And so that's my one other potential snub outside of Nick Benito on this roster.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Keith. I think Will Lutz was definitely, should have been a little bit more in consideration. I think for what he does. Again, I don't think he gets noticed maybe as much around the league, but he's nails, man. I mean, that's why Sean Payton brought him in. He trusts him in big games and big moments, and so either way, though, these guys. I mean, it's great to win these awards and get those bonuses in your contracts, but at the end of the day, winning should be what's most important, and winning as a team should be most important. So, hopefully we see that for Will. Hopefully he'll get a ring on his finger, Super Bowl ring, in the coming future.
I agree, man. I agree. That would be fantastic, right, man? Well deserved. It's funny, we were talking about this last episode, but we were talking about all the flack that we gave Sean Payton for bringing in all these ex paid or ex Saints, right? And bringing them onto the Denver Broncos roster. But how many have you looked back at and said that was a bad idea? That guy didn't pan out for us. He didn't play. He didn't even end up playing for us. Will Lutz is the antithesis of that. He's the guy that's been out there just absolutely getting it done for the Denver Broncos. I'll take him every single year, I guess. Come on back, Will Lutz, and get a Pro Bowl nod on top of it. Trevor, I guess it's about that time. What are you doing over the next couple of days? Watching any football?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, man. It's going to be a good couple of days of football because we're going to find out a lot, man. We're going to find out a lot. I expect when it comes to Tuesday, we might hear from you again. Talk about what's going to be happening on Tuesday, my friend.
Yeah, you have the Juice football show with me and Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick. We'll see how the schedule pans out, but I do plan on being back on the Juice with Kenny as we talk all NFL football, even throw some college football in there. Check us out. I believe I'll have to get out the time from Kenny, but I believe 7:30 is what we decided upon. To be determined, though. Make sure you keep it here to Rocky Mountain Sports Network. Got to have those notifications on. So you never miss any of our shows. But make sure to catch out. If I'm not there, please check out Mr. Kenny Kirkpatrick on the Juice. You don't want to miss it. Fantastic football show, and Kenny always does a great job. And we always do a great job planning as well. So look forward to the Juice, and looking forward to being back here soon.
Yeah. The juice on Tuesday should be fantastic after all these first round of the playoffs getting done and figuring all that out as they go around the NFL. Probably have a little bit of college football to talk about as well. And then check us out on Wednesday, the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Me and Jody will be back. We'll have a lot to talk about. We'll be probably previewing the matchup that we'll see in front of us as all the AFC playoff games will be out of the way, and we'll know who we'll be going up against for sure. We go live a lot. We go live on Tuesdays, as Trevor was just talking about, Wednesdays. You're right here on Saturday, checking out the Denver Bronco Roundup. And then we go pregame and postgame as well around every single Denver Bronco Roundup or Denver Bronco game here at the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. Love the likes, love the shares, love the subscribes. Probably more than anything, love the conversation that we have in the posse. Like I said, I promise one of these days we'll get that that producer in the background so that we make sure that we get to every single comment and every single star giver. We appreciate all the support. We appreciate Morgan Trinkets. But that being said, man, got to wrap it up. I'm a little under the weather. Trevor's really put together and held together this show. I appreciate him a ton. Can't wait till we're back again, maybe probably next week for another episode of the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast. But don't forget all of our shows. We appreciate you so very much for all your support. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. You can't miss us. Find us. We'll be there. That being said, we're going to get out of here like we always do. Boots in the stirrups, guns in the holsters, and of course, Denver Broncos right there in your heart. Like always, mile high salute. We're out of here. Can't wait to see you again. Have a great weekend, everybody.